How do you deal with a lack of motivation, and why is it that some people might seem like they are motivated 24 hours a day and just seem to smash it out of the park? In this video, I'm going to talk about why motivation isn't the thing that you're searching for, why it's definitely not the be-all and end-all, and my personal struggles with being motivated, productive, disciplined, and all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, so I'm actually not a particularly motivated person, and I want to talk about the specificity of using the word motivation. The number one thing I would hate to ever come across is that what I've got or what I do is unobtainable or unachievable, which is funny to me because I see where I am as a tiny little speck on like an infinitely large marketplace, and there are so many people that I look up to who are light years ahead of where I am. But some of the stuff that I might suggest, like taking on your first member of staff, writing a book, creating blog content, doing YouTube videos or whatever, to some people might seem so far removed from what they are comfortable doing or what they're capable of doing that it feels like, oh my God, Mike is so far ahead of where I want to get to. And then I look to people, the Ryan Dices of the world, who is like $100 million company, who's just started a new one, and I'm like, how would I ever get there? And it occurred to me that I'm not brilliantly motivated. And the specific definition I want to use of the word motivation is doing something when you want to do something. So if we look at something like, this person is extremely motivated, and the way this came about, this conversation, is I think it's a little bit gauche to say that you are motivated, that someone is motivated, but perhaps I can see empirically why people would say that about me. We were having coffee in the garden with a friend, socially distanced. They said, well, Mike, you're a very motivated, driven person. I don't think everyone can do that. I don't think the stuff you're teaching people is that achievable. And I went, I'm not particularly driven, I'm not massively motivated. And Liv then said, yeah, you are. You're hugely motivated, you're hugely driven. And I was like, well, that's really interesting because one, I don't think I am. Partly because I'm not where I want to be, which is the measure of drivenness and motivation, which I think is a core component in that we often don't think we're motivated or driven or even disciplined because we're not where we want to be. We think if I was disciplined and if I was motivated, I'd be where I want to be. And that's the big misconception we're gonna have to fight. But after having this conversation with a friend, I sat down and I said, well, what would you say makes me disciplined and motivated? And I also said, and give me another example of someone else. And the example she brought up was Ronnie Coleman.
Everybody want to be a bodybuilder, but don't nobody want to lift no heavy ass weight.
Of all things, which is funny because she's this tiny petite athlete, and she was like Ronnie Coleman, the eight-time Mr. Olympian champion. Like he won 8 years in a row or something. Huge bodybuilder. She would see him as motivated because he just consistently hits the top. Liv mentioned Joe Pavey, who is a UK runner, is a really good example of someone who's motivated, who's had peaks and troughs in her career and come back fighting and then lost and then come back fighting strong and won and then just got better and then dipped off and on and off again, and was pretty, unnoticed for a while and then just skyrocketed. 2012, is it? I think she skyrocketed, and in 2016 she just smashed it again. I think another good example is someone called Matt Fraser, who is what we call a CrossFit athlete, who again just seems to just put in the work. And the characteristics we boiled it down to were they repeatedly demonstrate results. They repeatedly demonstrate excellence. And I was like, well, obviously that describes me. No, in all seriousness, I was like, but what else do they do? And they said, well, they're constantly doing something. And I was like, that's it. That's the difference. I'm not motivated because motivation is doing something when you want to do something. I would say I'm closer to being disciplined, which is doing something when you don't want to do something. Motivation's really easy. You get pumped up, you go to a webinar, you go to a seminar, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to smash on with this book. I'm going to create YouTube content. I'm going to go out and then create a podcast, going to create $100 million business. Even if you think, actually, all I want is a $500,000 turnover business or a £500,000 turnover business. That's what I want to get to. That'd be incredible. That's what I'm going to get to. Let's get to it. And then you wake up the next day and you're like, oh God, I don't know if I can be bothered to do this. And I think that the link, funnily enough, between motivation and discipline is also tied to the Dunning-Kruger effect, which is basically how we explain imposter syndrome. When you're motivated, you want to do something. You wake up and you're like, I'm gonna work out. I wanna work out, I feel good, I'm looking forward to working out, I love this, I know it's gonna hurt, I'm gonna crack on with it. I wanna create YouTube content, I wanna write a book, I wanna start this business, I wanna continue working on this business. That's when you wanna do something. And for me, that is so sporadic and infrequent that I couldn't possibly rely on it, because it's not a consistent enough motivator, it's not a consistent enough driving force for me to get the results that I want. I wake up and I think I really cannot be bothered to work out today. I sit down at my keyboard and think, or put on my headphones and think, I really cannot be bothered to dictate another 1,000 words or to write another 1,000 words. I cannot be bothered to open my emails. And the difference is that discipline is doing something when you don't want to do something. There's that initial peak where you think, this is hard work, but I'm really excited about it. Your enthusiasm skyrockets. You think, this is what I want to get to. That's the level I want to get to. I'm going to work for it. Day one, yeah, it's hard work, but I enjoy it. Day two, yeah, it's hard work, but I enjoy it. Day three, you're like, this is kind of hard work and I'm not seeing immediate results. And then it begins to drop off again, right? And it's actually, like I said, the same with enthusiasm or perceived knowledge with the Dunning-Kruger effect. And it begins to drop off into what we call this trough of despair. I would say I spend more time in the trough of despair where I don't see the results and I think the work outweighs the benefits. I would say I spend more time there than anywhere else. I would say I do that almost every single day with working out. I don't naturally like to work out. I like it when I've done it, but I wake up and I think, I really cannot be bothered to move today. But I know deep down that the results that I want come from a strong routine. And a strong routine is best enforced by discipline. So get up, put your trainers on. I don't brush my teeth. I maybe have a glass of water. I don't shower, any of that. I just get downstairs or I get in the car, drive to the gym, and I think I'm just gonna put my trainers on. That's all I'm gonna do. I go through the motions. I basically fake it. And I believe this is where fake it till you make it actually derives from. Fake it till you make it does not mean pretend like you're a multi-million-dollar business owner and give information away as if you are when you're actually not until you become one. I don't think that's true. I think fake it till you make it means fake going to the gym until you realize, ah shit, I'm at the gym, now I'm gonna have to do some work. You know, I don't even want to do the work. Fine, all you're gonna do is get your weights out. That's all you're gonna do. All you're gonna do is get the box out. All you're gonna do is get the rope out. Same with writing. I really can't be bothered. Don't worry about it. You're just gonna set up the lights. That's all you're gonna do is set up the lights. Like today, this video is technically the first video that I've done with my new lighting system. And I was like, I don't know how it's gonna work. I've got reflections in the backboard that I've had to cover up and it's awkward, it gets hot in here, so now I've learned I have to open up the blind and it's difficult, but I'm like, just set up the lights, just set up the camera, fake it. Fake that you're gonna do this. And then I sat down and started talking. Exact same when writing. And this is what a lot of the big guys say. The guys who have really achieved results through discipline say they basically take it one tiny iota at a time, one tiny step at a time. And they say, today, just get out some weights. I'm just gonna put on my trainers. I'm just gonna get to the gym. They don't want to do it every single time. They don't want to do it every single day. And it's pushing past that trough of despair. And it's knowing that right now, no, you're not gonna see the results. Saving money today, you're not gonna see the results. You're only gonna see the results in 10, 20, 30 years time if you save money regularly. You're not gonna see the results working out every day immediately. You're not even gonna see them in 6 months. You'll see a bit of a difference, but not in 6 months. Following your passion, like going after the thing that you want to go for, if you realize, do you know what I love doing? Working with cat owners. More than anything, I'm not even that interested in running a marketing agency. I just love working with cat owners. Then start finding cat owners and start having a conversation with them. No, you're not going to find results immediately. No, you're not going to see results, maybe even in 6 months. But eventually, the results you do see will be greater than any of the initial efforts that you put in. I talk about this in my book, Universe Fuel, where I say, eventually, the universe will give you and put back more onto you than you're initially putting in. And that comes through routine, and that comes from discipline. Motivation is flaky. And it's even a warning to me now. I'm like, I really want to do this. And I think, why do I really want to do this? Is this the thing I should be doing? Or should I be focusing on the thing that I need to be disciplined on? Do I need to do the results-based stuff first? And there's tons of other stuff we can talk about around that. What's the number one thing you focus on with discipline and motivation? Let me know below. What's the one routine? And routine is another thing. Like, that kind of comes into it. What's a routine or a habit? A habit is another thing. This is like all big trendy buzzwords at the moment. What do you put in your day, in your week, in your month? What's the set routine you know, that discipline you think, I don't even want to do this, but I'm going to trick my body into moving my hands across the keys and typing out nonsense, and then eventually just typing a stream of consciousness, and then eventually I'm just going to type 100 words, and then I'm just going to do 1,000 words, and before you know it, you've done 2 hours of solid writing, and you're done, you're good to go. I don't know what I'm going to say in front of YouTube. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to sit down, hit record, and have a stream of consciousness, and then just edit out the good parts. But I'm going to do it every single day, and that's a massive part of this. We've got a saying at Sell Your Service, which is, if you're not going to do something 1,000 times, don't bother doing it once. I'd love to hear the routines, the disciplines, the habits that you've got. Let me know down in the comments below. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for watching. I've got another video where I talk about how I'm productive, or I have a routine or whatever, over on the side here, so you can go ahead and check that out. This basically talks about how I break down my day, but I've also got some other videos about that kind of stuff coming out later. In the meantime, hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it, and a subscribe. In the meantime, have courage, commit, and take action.